Yeah, hello and welcome to our learning lunch. My name is Sarah and I'm one of the co founders of Tech Leaders Academy. At Tech Leaders Academy, we are a platform hosting trainings and events to help tech professionals progress in their careers and become tech leaders. So, we are offering online live trainings in a small group and instructed by industry experts in data and tech. But we are also hosting interactive webinars like this one today, where you can participate by asking your questions or sharing your experience in the comments with us. And we are further offering and hosting open spaces where we meet in small groups online and discuss specific questions that are very popular in data and tech. So if you want to know more what we are doing at Tech Leaders Academy, check out our website at tech-leaders.academy. So, and now coming to the topic of our learning lunch today. So, today, everything what we are talking about is about data product management and how to become a great data product manager. And from my observation, this topic is getting more and more attention right now. And so I'm really excited to learn and discuss with you together what this topic is all about and why it's so important when developing data products. And because this topic is so important and getting more attention, I even invited two guests for this learning lunch today. And to make the introduction brief, I figured out three main aspects both of these two have in common. So the first aspect is both of the two have more than 15 years of experience in working in data and tech, especially in data analytics, data science, and product management. The second aspect is both are female, which makes me really happy to raise the percentage of female guests in our live streams. And the third aspect is both raise their voices for more diversity and inclusion in data and tech, which is very important nowadays. And therefore, I'm really happy they are with us today. Here is Tereza, Iofciu, and Zamina Ahmad. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, you two. Nice to have you here on the stream in the show today. Um, yeah, I already introduced you a little bit, but maybe it's also fine and a great idea if you can also add some more notes. What is your background? What are you doing? And where do you have the experience about data product management? Samina, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for introducing us. That was very nice, actually, to have the three common aspects of the two of us. Yeah. So, yeah, let me shortly introduce myself. I'm Zamina. I'm my background when I started, I've been an analyst for many years. And at some point, I switched to the role of a product manager, product owner. And due to my background, that I did so many things in analytical stuff, I came to the position that I often managed data products, which were like optimization algorithms, recommendation systems, predictions, and so on. So nowadays, I would then call myself data product owner probably.
Mhm.
And yeah, I also founded my small little company, Shades and Contrast, where I try to combine these aspects of data diversity into the products, which are also very important in successful data products. That's from my side. I hand over to Teresa.
Thank you, Zamina and Sarah. Yeah, I got into data products a little bit differently. I think I did a PhD in information retrieval long ago, and we were working on European Union projects, and there it was already kind of this products and working in teams, and that was one exposure that obviously I didn't know it was that back then. Then I was working as a data scientist at Xing, and then I worked as a data engineer at Free Now, where we
Mhm.
then started the data science team, and we did not have data product owners, so we were basically kind of not really getting anything done for a while. And I think I remember the head of the department back then said it would be good if someone stepped up into this role for a bit. And I thought, okay, I'm the more senior, so I guess I can do it. And how hard can it be, right? I mean, product owners, I
Everyone
was
can do that.
exactly. And I thought, like before working, wherever I worked, it was like, every developer, we don't need project managers, we don't need product owners, we don't need project product managers, we can just do it. So I was also part of those people. And then I just did it for a year. And indeed, there were a lot of lessons learned. And I kept giving some talks about it back then. And then I was like, okay, I really need to hire someone for this position because I want to do something else. So then I went into leadership, hired a really talented product owner back then. And yeah, so since then, I've been, I moved on. I do teach, I manage now a data science coaching team at Iofciu, where we bring people in the data science career. And I also started offering data leadership coaching. And I'm also involved in a lot of diversity and inclusion initiatives, mostly in the Python ecosystem, so the Python Software Foundation and NumFocus. And yeah, and I think Zamina and I met last year at one of these events. Where a tech camp, right? Where
Yes.
Zamina was giving a talk before my panel. Her talk was on,
Inclusive product management.
yeah, and my panel was on unconscious bias. So that's basically how we met. It seems like forever ago because, yeah, we kind of live on the internet. So whenever someone posts something on LinkedIn, it feels like we are connected.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Well, that's
Okay.
cool. And you're both from Hamburg, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 We
Cool.
both live in Hamburg.
You
And
both
yeah.
live in Hamburg. So cool. So I'm really happy that you're here. You bring so many views on this topic and a lot of experience with that. So today we will discuss actually what data product management is and also focus on how to become or be good at data product management. So, what are the skills and the requirements, and so on. But before we start into what you prepared, because you brought some slides for us, and then we will go through the slides and discuss a bit for the audience that are watching us right now. If you want to ask some question, if you have something that is on your mind, just drop a message in the chat. We will see that here in our streaming studio, and then we can add it right away into the stream and discuss your questions. So be brave. Use the chance if you want to know more, or if you also want to share your experience, just go ahead, and we are happy to have this kind of interactive webinar together with you. So then, if you agree, I will bring the slides online. So, and then, yeah, who is going to start?
Yeah, I mean, Teresa already explained how we met on that conference. And yesterday, when we finalized all the slides, we were scrolling out in our LinkedIn chat. How did we met actually? How did we came up with this topic? And we wanted to share that with the audience as a little short side history is that actually, I knew that Teresa is offering that inclusive leadership coaching, and I was also very interested in that part. And I texted her that I did some research, and I would love to offer also a training, and if she want to join. And her nice and quick answer was, "Oh, I'd love that." And we met for actually another topic, which was inclusive leadership. And when we finally met here in Hamburg in a room to make a draft out of it, we ended up in data product ownership. So that's a funny part about it, that we have so many other topics like data, product management, and diversity, that we combined all our learnings and experience into this this little webinar today. So the rest is history.
Great. So, how do we start with the topic? So, what is your experience? How did this topic came up? So why is it important to have like data specific product management?
I think we kind of discussed a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
It's, I think, with the advances of large language models and how the world is changing, probably the future of even any kind of data role is going to most likely be more into data product ownership rather than really coding a lot and experimenting a lot. So I think there's that. Plus, on the other side, if you think about it, every company is trying since this past decade to become data driven. Trying. So some of them succeed, some of them are slow, but I think the goal of any company is to be data driven at some point. So that's probably data literacy is going to be like coming across the board for any kind of role, including for the product owner one to be successful.
I mean, data-driven mindset is one aspect which is important for every product management role. If you succeed or not, it's hard, but data products will also rise. So we think that, in our opinion, this role will be more important in the future because you will create out of data more products, more solutions, and with the rise of AI and all these technologies, it will become more and more important. So these roles are increasing. Yeah.
So more the roles on the intersection between the different departments as well, and with a very broad skill set, I would assume.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you prepared the slides in details.
Yeah.
So do you have some kind of a definition or okay.
Exactly. So yeah, we started actually with that definition. Especially Tereza also used that word project management, which annoys product manager. I said to her, and then we saw that difference also in the promotion. Are you calling yourself data? Are you calling yourself product manager, or are you calling yourself product owner? So you can find many articles, many people explaining differences, and it's also dependent on in which context you are working and in which company size. So, for example, I made the experience in many big companies, big corporates, they use the SAFE framework where you split these two roles, where you say the product owner is the one who's defining the how with the agile team, defining backlog, user stories, and so on. And the product manager is the business person who is defining the what, looking at the market, and so on. In other smaller companies and startups, that's the same role. The product manager and the product owner is one person looking at the market, the competition, defining what to do, what opportunities to have, and then defines also the product, the user stories behind that. We wanted to say that in this seminar here, in this webinar, we don't make a difference. If manager or owner, we say, we are referring to one person, to one specific role. And what we meant by that is that we are talking about a person who is responsible for a software increment, so responsible for developing something, which is that product. And the main role is that this person is accountable for maximizing the value of that product. And we have an agile team there, an agile team which is developing that. And then now the difference to a data product owner, we see data scientists as part of this development team. And data is an essential part of this product. So data itself brings you to the solution of this product.
Yeah, really interesting, because when we are rolling back even further or even more like backwards, like I was wondering or often discussing what a data product is. I think that's even more important to specify in advance what a data product is. Like maybe you can also share your experience or your view on the topic. What is actually a data product, Tereza?
I can give some examples, I guess. I mean, building a recommender system that ends up recommending things to users. So here, use data for that. Building a price estimator that you show then the users prices that they can get for whatever, like a taxi trip. I was working at Free Now. Recommending jobs to users. So that's the recommender system. Search pricing, like changing the price based on demand. So Uber is doing it, and all sorts of all the private ride hailing. And I think, and then you have all sorts of other industries where you have data products, like in the health industry and everywhere where there's even more, like analyzing an X-ray and saying really quickly what the diagnosis could be. And so everything where you're basically using data to extract some insights that you can then deliver them to some user. But you can also have data products that are internal in a company, like predicting revenue for the finance team, or predicting how many customers convert to paying customers. So the user, when you say the user for the product, can be external, but can also be internal.
Yeah.
But you see, what I didn't say, I didn't really say that in all of these data products, you really need a model. So sometimes you don't need a model, like a real model, you might just get away with.
I wanted to add that actually. Because
Sorry.
I see that like that. Yeah, like your examples, recommendation systems, predictions, but also I look at it very systematically. Yeah, like what Tereza didn't want to say, like a model or an algorithm. And I look at it like you have input data, you have a model which makes a decision or is generating something, and then you have the output. So you can also see it like that. But why didn't you want to say that, Tereza, like a model?
Okay, it can be a model, but it doesn't really have to be let's say, the state-of-the-art model. Sometimes
it doesn't have
you
to set. You mean not to be sophisticated, right?
It can also be a model that you as a human design based on your domain knowledge. That was how data products were built mainly in the past, and sometimes this is still how people get started in many places.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the fancy neural network you develop, but I think if you put data into it and it comes data out of it, then maybe it's a data product.
Yeah.
So maybe my last question regarding this definition of a data product, because of the data mesh discussion, I understood it this way, that data is going to be a product at itself. So the data itself can also be a product. What is your experience about this? Or do you think that is something that is maybe also a hype or a wish for, but not really capable or not really coming into reality? So what is your opinion about that?
I think if you look at in the past, you had to physically collect data and put it in, and then you return something to users and they were happy or not. And now this is all like in one go, right? Like users are both producers and consumers of data. So I think and then the data, there's the cycle, right? Like you deliver data, but then you also have a cycle to improve that data. So I can see that so data is a product, and there's been a lot of companies that have gotten a lot of investment on not having profitable businesses, but their business was collecting data. So to say, I mean, like if you look at most of the ride-hailing industry, that was their product, right? Like we're gonna get a lot of users and their data. And the whole marketing and advertising industry where people just buy data. There's a lot of companies that sell data. So whether we want it or not. So that's the second part. We probably don't always want this, and most of the times we don't. And now it becomes like with or without our permissions. Like every time our pictures get used on from the internet to train some model. So yeah.
Yeah, I also thought about pictures right now, because if you see that data products really rely on high quality, you could really build, or you could see data itself as a product, because you can build data quality management around it, people who are supporting other products who are using that data. So you can really see that as a product itself, because you invest so much in that good qualitative data which you can rely on. Yeah, I think you can see it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we already got lots of comments and questions. Meanwhile, our discussions, and I'm going to select the ones that fit best into our conversations. So, for all those that are waiting already to get their questions answered, I will get you covered definitely. So, stay tuned, please. But this one, I think that fits quite well as a comment, as an addition to what Teresa said. So, hi, Jack, welcome to the stream. In addition to defining data products as those used by business users, just mentioned by Teresa, I would also add data products such as customer data platform, which is targeted to technical users. Although the role of product owner becomes more important. Becomes more important. Let me check. Becomes more important for data products targeted to business users. Yeah, this is something that I would agree to. And then he was also adding another one, that a dashboard is also a data product. So there does not need to be any algorithms or data science involved. At least that is Jack's experience. And there is another question that fits quite well into this discussion. Hi, Michaela. So, how would you categorize data products? And she was also specifying her question like in broader categories. I'm not sure if I understand this question correctly, but maybe you, Teresa, or Zamina, have an idea what she might want to know from you.
I hope so. I mean, just to answer quickly, I think I would categorize always product by the business value. So depending where you are working at, is it an industry, e-commerce shop, or automotive? I would then see what is the value chain, and then categorize not data products, but products on that value chain of that business organization. The other categorization I could imagine is technology wise. So yeah, it's different if you build a data product for predictions or recommendation, or I don't know, facial recognition. So I would also could imagine that categorization. Teresa, would you add something?
Yeah, I would add another aspect. So this is also in lieu of what Jack said. Depends a little bit on who's the stakeholder of your data product. So indeed, you can have internal teams as stakeholder. They need to make decisions based on data insights, and then for that you might build dashboards or to deliver those insights. Or you have the user being a user on the platform, and then you build services. So this is, I think, this categorization, and this was a split that Etsy did like some years ago to kind of define the lines between what is data science and what is data analytics, to say like data science delivers services, so data products as a service, and data analytics delivers data dashboards and insights. So internal, more like internal, so for human consumption to interpret also. So yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
So now, as we define the data product at its on its own, coming back maybe to the person that are managing these products, so the data product owner or the data product manager. So, what are the skills? Maybe I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Responsibility skills.
Yeah, we just did a quick browse on LinkedIn to see if there are some jobs open there for data product owner or manager. And then we did a little bit of this fancy tech cloud word cloud, very popular in the 90s, about the responsibilities and the skills. And you can see there, there's quite a lot of them. And yeah, like you can, so you have like the fact that there's ownership, so being a point of contact, coordinating successful delivery, prioritization, working in cross-functional teams, doing stakeholder management, being collaborative, managing the backlog. So all of the things what you can expect, but then of course also be responsible for the data quality process, or do monitor and analyze KPIs, do the data-driven decision making, and so on. And as requirements, all of the roles that I've seen do require experience in both product ownership and data roles. So some experience. Some of them also say it's enough if you do a course in one or the other, and they want consulting skills because you have to work across teams a lot, and be able to do agile methodologies and project management and be strategic, but also entrepreneurial and team player. And what we did next, we kind of categorized these things based on what is this, like product or data or leadership. This was a little bit based on also some conversations that happened online when we posted that we are going to do this session, where people said that most of these roles usually highlight skills and responsibilities either in product or data. We also noticed there are some skills that you can say they are leadership, and then we added to the mix our opinion that also inclusivity is quite important to the successful part. So this is basically a little bit what we think. So that's our definition of data product owner.
All right. So you said that it's definitely a benefit if people have technical background. Alexander just asked how technical these people need to be. So hi, Alex. Nice to meet you here. So question to both of you. So how technical, more in terms of data-specific domain knowledge, for example, statistics, algorithms, machine learning, AI, data infrastructure, does a data PM have to be in order to be a successful in this role? What is your experience? Because you both come actually from a more technical role and involved into this data product owner or data product management role.
Yeah, we had also that discussion. How deep should you go into that? And I think we will show that on the data part of it, that I mean, the worst case scenario is that you don't understand what your data scientists or developers are talking about the model. And maybe they want to test a model in A/B testing, different two types. Yeah. And you have to understand what's the difference in the two models. So you have to understand, maybe I would say, the concept, at least. You don't have to program that. I mean, that's the role then to a data scientist or a developer, that you implement and build that solution. But of course, in order to maximize the success and the value, you need to understand the concept of that model, of that algorithm, of what differences are doing. So that would be my quick answer.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you think about it, the product owner is there to facilitate the successful delivery of a product in production most of the time, whatever that production means. And I would say you need to know as much as not to be an overhead for any kind of team or person you interact with. So if you're this person that is not willing to learn, right? So you obviously, nobody knows everything, and this is a very growing domain and changing new topics every day, data science, data analytics, and data products, right? So you will have to grow and learn and be open to learn stuff. And you need to communicate in the name of the team. Now, if you need for every communication to have another person in the team do your slides, draft all the things you're going to say, then the team member would be like, so why do we have this person around, right? So so like not be an overhead. So
we also had that discussion, Tereza and myself, about when data scientists become product owners, it's also sometimes a not so good situation when they are so deep that they want to actually implement, and then they say, try this, try that. So it's also not a good situation if the product owner is too deep into that and wants to play everywhere around like the team. That's maybe then too deep. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people need to understand. This is then also depends on the company, right? I mean, in some places, the person who's doing data product owner is expected to implement things because they only have one person who is everything, the unicorn in data, right? But if you have a different team setup, it's ideal when it's like you need to take a step back, right? Like the moment you stop implementing and being deep into things, then you do lose your touch with that, and everybody needs. But that's the same when you step into leadership, and then you're again not hands-on anymore, and you need to learn how to step back and let other people do the shining and the work.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So maybe if you want, we can dig deeper into this transition mode. So let's start with the case that someone from the data role, from an analytical or data science role, wants to progress more into a data lead, product manager role. What do you experience? What are the biggest gaps most of the people have when they want to transition? And or which skills do they have to learn on the way or before in order to be successful? So what actually is this transition all about? So where do they have to transition, and why can this also be so hard sometimes?
I can talk from my personal experience, and so I think from my personal experience, I switched from data science to product owner it was for a year. And then what I learned, of course, I did not read any books because I did not consider this transition to be something hard, right? But what I thought that I felt like I have to get really good at is communication with different stakeholders, like being able to communicate with someone who's really deep into data stuff and to communicate with someone who doesn't understand data at all. And getting really good at documenting and organizing things. Like whoever you communicated with, you need to be able to have meeting notes and send them. Like and like follow-ups, and like really like keep this bigger picture. For some people, it's easy to be good at bigger picture, but your responsibility is then to make that bigger picture also transparent for the people who you are interacting with.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a...
Yeah, I made a different personal experience, so it's very interesting to hear where other people struggle. So for me, when I switched from analyst to a product owner, I struggled with the fact you are not an expert any longer. You are an analyst is an expert, a data scientist is an expert, known for a specific topic. Yeah, people go to Zamina and say, give me that analysis, and I can provide that. As product owner, you have the bigger picture. You are more the general person having the overview about every information, and it's not your task to go deeper into that model. It's also not the task to go deeper in user research. It's the task to have all that experts aligned, combined, the information. And I struggled a little bit in that transition from expert to have the overview. That was different for me. Yeah.
I've also experienced it. So not for me, but when working with other data product owners and senior data scientists, sometimes when there was technical expertise on the data product owner side, so the person was a bit more technical and had an opinion, sometimes that was not respected, even if it was valid. So sometimes that can also happen, like having that expertise but not having it respected because you have this label. And companies in Germany and around are still being hierarchical, right? So and when the roles are not well defined and responsibility is not well defined, and this is a blending role in most places, so it's very unclear sometimes. So yeah.
Do you make this experience even though you changed within the same company? So with the same people?
I did not say it happened to me.
Okay, sorry. Maybe I understood it in
I
the wrong
said
way.
I observed it.
Okay,
So yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I observed it. It's just something, and it can actually happen also if you grow in the same company, because you always hire new people, and not everybody has, when you hire people, like not everybody has experience working in teams that are having people with different responsibilities. So if you've never worked before with a data product owner, then you might come from this group of people that does not respect that role.
Yeah. I can assume that. I can definitely think of some kind of situations where you have like maybe also contradicting ideas or approaches how to continue with the development, and then maybe there can arise some conflicts between the different groups.
Also from the product perspective, like you have to deliver things on a deadline, right? Sometimes.
True. Yeah.
And
so different priorities, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you translate that deadline to a field that likes wording in a very explorative and open way?
And detailed and qualitative way. Yeah.
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 And that's also some clashes of priorities.
Yeah. There's another question for Zamina, which fits very well to our discussion right now. So, hi, Tatiana. Nice that you're here with us. So, Zamina, do you have any tips, your personal success factors or lessons learned on how to switch from an analyst role and focus on a product owner role and not fall back into old patterns? Thanks.
Good point. So I always I said to myself, it's not your task to do the dashboard or to do the analysis any longer. It's your task to make sure that the team knows the insights. So I'm a book reader, so I read a lot of books. What is a good product management? How do you achieve that? Develop a vision. So I was focusing more on that part instead of where do I come from? So where do I want to be? And make yourself maybe familiar with good product management practices and focus on that, because these old patterns are sometimes also very useful. Being analytical, getting all the numbers, that's a very good part for also successful product owner. So you are then probably a data-driven product owner. So take that as an advantage also. That's also maybe a good lessons learned. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. So, what I find now quite interesting is while viewing this event chart for a couple of minutes, is what is quite new to me is the definition of putting the inclusion part inside of this whole product owner responsibility and task overview. Why do you think is that so important?
Zamina, maybe we move to the slide of inclusion.
Okay, there are some more slides.
It's fine. Never mind. I think go to the next one.
To the next one. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we start with the end. Yeah.
Yeah, we start with the end. It's fine. It's like, it's cool. So yeah, I mean, I would say, it's in the data.
There are so many reasons. Yeah, it was hard for us to get a summary on inclusion is something which is integrated in leadership and collaborating with people and making everyone involved. But we as two data persons, we also see that bias is in data, and you don't want to have biased decisions by your data products. You also have to make sure, is your data reliable? Is it good quality, or do you produce bias, or do you repeat bias? So that's why we said for data product owner, it's very important to have that on that leadership skills part, people skills part, but also on that product part, data part, and yeah, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when I was saying it's in the data, I was saying that there's a lot of studies already out there that are showcasing the positive aspects of diversity and inclusion.
Mhm.
So better decision making is done in diverse team. Inclusive teams are more productive. Like asking the right questions, all the questions early enough in the product lifecycle versus when the users complain that something is not working for their demographics. Well, that can really lead to getting it right more often than
Mhm.
getting it wrong first.
Mhm.
And then there's all the other people that care about the finance of things. So yeah, diversity and inclusion have proven that companies are financially more successful if they have these cultures already in place.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I think
Are there already studies or experience out there that, especially for products or data products that have this inclusion, or where people are focusing on having it like inclusion friendly, or that they are really like taking this as a very important aspect? Do you also have experience that also these data products are more successful than others?
Zamina, you had some examples. I think definitely in the talk you were given. It's so maybe like around one example that is very obvious is around
Mhm.
accessibility. How a lot of
Mhm.
products that were built for accessibility ended up being helpful for everybody else as
Mhm.
well. So
Yeah, I mean, data diversity is something which is very important, that you reflect, or that you have different data sources, that you have different
Mhm.
data sets when you train a model, for example. So I think it's a crucial part to think about, where's my data coming from, and is there something which I don't want to repeat, because we are talking about data and we see data as something very objective, but in the end the data is reflecting our reality, and this reality is not equal enough. We are fighting against these inequalities, and so we also have to fight against inequalities in that data. And there are um, many bad examples, right, where you see that people are getting excluded, not
Mhm.
recognized because of their skin color, even, I don't know, yeah. So I think your success of your product is really dependent on what you put in. And if you put something in which you don't want to have, then yeah, and that's one part of it, of successful data products.
Mhm.
yeah, and I think another example is like if you see like let's say you have a company website and then they see who's in the team that is building that product, and if you don't find yourself represented, sometimes you still have like smaller products built by people that like there's a small team, you don't find yourself represented in that group of people, already that that product is probably not gonna be good for you.
Mhm.
Classic example, I don't know, it was I saw it at some point, like a startup pitch, something. It was like a couple of guys building a period tracker. And then you're
Mhm.
thinking, how can some guys build a period? What do they know about getting a period? It's just like this is really wrong. I would never use this app, whatever they're going to do with it. I can't even start believing that that thing is going to be good.
Mhm.
So
Even though it's proof that they have good advisories, for example, maybe they are only the founders, but they are based on studies or whatever. Still, you wouldn't trust that.
not really.
I
Okay.
wouldn't buy that, no.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, just imagine you're like advisory, right?
Mhm.
They come in when you need them, but not be there while you're building. And then you spend 3 months building something, and then you ask the advice of an advisor, and then they say, but maybe roll back and do it different because this is missing. And then you go is like, yeah, but we have a deadline, and now we need to make a decision between the deadline and the good. So it's
Mhm.
always a ethical dilemma, right? Like, do you want the like I think currently in the data world, right, we have this ethical dilemma quite often between profit and good for everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't want to say which one wins in every case, but sometimes people can't afford to be, and they won't. So yeah. So no, I would. There are other options, right? So if you have the choice, and these days you have choices, right, with like what apps you're using for what, and that's the nice thing sometimes. And then I would choose something that is built by the demographics for which it is intended to.
Yeah.
I mean, what also is important about this part is we are repeating just examples which we already know, right? Gender pay gap, you don't want to produce that, skin colors differently. But the really dangerous part is where you cannot predict that maybe the algorithm sees a combination of two patterns and you never analyze that or you never recognize that, and it's building that into your model. And that can also happen for pure numbers. Yeah, for example, in summertime, I don't know, something is selling more, and you think, yeah, that's obvious, or other patterns which you don't want to. So these correlation is not causality. Yeah, you say that in German very often. So you have to make sure that what is the output, and this bias can also is not only reflected on demographic and our people, but also on that part. So that's why I see that very important.
And is there any tip that you can give to new product owners in order to secure to be more inclusive in the decisions and yeah, in the work, like as a product owner?
We have
Several.
several.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think maybe starting from the end, like first educate yourself and try to build for yourself and also the team and the people you're working with awareness. So here, because we were talking about bias, so first be aware of your own privilege, and the team's privilege, and trying to identify your unconscious bias, the team's unconscious bias, and then also see how that reflects then in the products you're building, right? Because one concept, what happens is this privilege hazard when a team is not diverse, and here comes the diversity part. Sometimes you end up somewhere and the team is not diverse, right? And then when I was giving the example with the period tracker, right? So it's not about that you don't care about the bias, it's just that it is invisible to you. That the things are just invisible to you. The problems do not exist because you've never had them. So you need to learn about them so that at least you can start seeing them, right? And then I think, so yeah, that is why diversity is important in the product, in the teams building products. And you have different perspectives, and the questions, you have a higher likelihood that the right questions get asked earlier rather than later, when it's expensive to say, oops, we made a mistake, we have to throw it all away and start from scratch again. Yeah. And I think, Zamina, you want to talk about, so one other thing, what happens with this equal opportunities, this is something that she has experienced quite a lot.
I was so passionate about it. Yeah. So, because it happens so often that I see product owners, they are collecting requirements, right? And that's one of their jobs to do as a product manager, to collect requirements from different stakeholders. And what happens is, of course, one stakeholder is maybe stronger than the other one, or maybe one stakeholder is more often on my table and on my desk and talking to me. So what is very important is that guy who came all that time is not the one who's the only one. So make sure that you have equal opportunities or equal requirements collecting across your stakeholders, that because there are maybe other people also have to say something important and have good ideas, but maybe they are not so loud or their personality is different. So make sure that you includes everyone in your product, that you will gain so much value out of it. So that's one thing I was very passionate about it, and it's also reflected in that inclusion part in inclusive meeting rules and moderation, that because our culture is very much, we meet in a Zoom meeting, one is in the middle of the attention, very good in communicating and argumenting everything, but the 5 others also have something to say. Maybe they need the time, maybe they are not so likely to put themselves in the middle of the attention. So inclusive meeting rules are very good. So give the agenda in advance so everyone can make up their mind, give maybe more possibilities to give feedback, not only in the meeting, but also a whiteboard, so you can give written feedback or something like that. Because this meeting culture is not for every personality type. It's very much about introvert, extrovert. We are promoting extrovert people, but maybe they're not having the best ideas. Yeah, so make sure that you collect that also from different type of personalities.
Yeah, very important, definitely. So we have 8 more minutes to go. We have a ton of questions and comments in the chat. So
and we have more slides.
And we have more slides. So I would let you decide how you would like to end or to take the last minutes. So you want to focus more on the slides and maybe ask the questions asynchronously in the chat after, or should we take the focus and answer the questions?
I think we could go for the questions.
Yeah, if there's a fitting question, please.
Okay. And I think so. There was someone who asked about the slides, and yes, we will share the slides at the end.
Yes, would be the first one to ask if you can share the slides.
Yeah, you can put the question on the screen. So
yes,
credit goes to
Roberto. Hi. Good question. Yes, it will be provided. Thank you. So let's see. I think this question was also very interesting because it was the transition from the other way. So from software development or a broad product management more into the data direction. For example, this question from Upasana. Hi, welcome. I am a software developer lead and I'd like to transition into a PO and PM role. Do you think anyone transitioning like this would make sense? So do you think it makes sense to transition from software or a broad technical into the data world? I hope I understood it in the correct way.
I mean, why not?
Why not? Everything is possible.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah. So I think, just what we mentioned, right? Make sure that you understand the PO PM role. It's quite different. It's more generalist. Make yourself familiar on the learning channels you prefer. I prefer books. Maybe you listen to a podcast or training or something like that. So I think, Tereza, you wanted to say something? No?
The same.
The same?
The same. And also, if you have the opportunity, wherever you are, try to pay attention to local opportunities to experiment in trying it out. So take some of this responsibility and just do it, I think, and see, collect your information, whether you like the role or not.
Mm-hmm. And there we have a very similar question from Firat. Hi, welcome. So what do you think is a good starting point for a PM if they want to transition into data PM? So even more specific. So it sounds like that he is already a product manager and now he wants to transition into data. So now there comes the data aspect on top. What is your experience? Where to start? So what is a good learning journey maybe for this one?
Maybe, Tereza, we can show the data slide for this answering this question. What do you think?
Yeah.
Then I will hide it in order to have more space for the slide.
Yeah. I think there's like 2 aspects here. So one is a little bit, so you have like the data lifecycle. So if you want to work in like data products, like kind of more from a data science perspective or a data analytics perspective, this data lifecycle might have slightly different definition or implications. So I think for data science, you'll definitely need to learn what the models are in a general sense and what kind of problems get solved with what kind of models. For data analytics, more about product analytics. But for both of them, you will need to be able to, let's say, interpret insights and results, right? So you will need to be able to look at KPIs or dashboards and really understand what does it say? Is it good or is it bad? As a starting point, right? So the more you grow, the more responsibility you will get. So yeah,
the data
and then learn
lifecycle.
how to communicate, about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the sorry, Zamina.
Yeah, I think data quality is also a part of it, right? If you are product manager for a different product, maybe the quality aspects are differently because you are not so dependent on the success of your data product. But in data products, you're very dependent on what is the accuracy? Can we improve the quality? Do we have a lack of data? Is the data consistent enough? And so on. So there's also a big part into that aspect.
Yeah.
And I think another thing which is a little bit maybe different than pure software engineering project manager is product manager. Sorry, it's just that it's been like a word fog for me, like this 3 roles. Anyways, so what does this user-centric approach mean from a data perspective, and what does the product owner have to do with all that? So I think we are very used from data science to talk about the model performance, but from a product perspective, we care about business performance, so KPIs and metrics. And getting the whole team on this culture to align these metrics, to say, sure, you have a F1 score, but what does the user care about your F1 score? Your user doesn't even know you have a model most of the time behind it. So the user knows when it's accurate-ish or very inaccurate, and then they're very upset, right? So how does that relate? And always keep those in mind, and how do you connect those dots? And most of the time it's not you as a product owner who has to connect those dots, but you will need to change a whole group of data people to connect those dots, to have this. I saw one comment like change management, right? To push for this kind of culture. It's like, we're not building models because it's a hobby, right? They have to be useful.
True.
So, yeah.
I think that's a nice ending phrase for this part. So we have 1 minute left. Some more open questions. I would suggest that we go over them after that, or maybe this evening or tomorrow, and we will answer that. So don't worry if your questions haven't been answered yet in the stream. However, if you like, we can make a short wrap up. So what we all take away from the session, maybe Zamina, if you want to start. And if you have a final announcement, of course, you can also share that with the audience. The end slide. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. So as a takeaway, I recognized many questions about transitioning. So, but that makes totally sense because we both also transitioned from another role into that role, and it is a kind of leadership role also. We have that aspect as well. So we are talking to many people, either they're coming from data analysts, product management side, or software engineering, that they want to understand what do I need in order to be successful. And so that's my takeaway from all that questions. Tereza and myself, that's a little announcement. I'm showing that slide here, is that we want to dig deeper into that topic, and we want to offer different formats here, half-day workshop or full-day training. But also, if you are interested in one-to-one mentoring, you can also contact us. We have a short URL. You can sign up there, because then you get news and notifications when we will offer that workshops. That's the two of us offering that. And thank you for having us, Sarah, by the way.
You're welcome. So we just posted the link to the training. So if you want to have more information, or gonna get posted and notified as soon as you start, I think you can leave your email address.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So,
I wanted
Tereza.
to add just one thing.
Yes.
Also to the transition, and like I think for everybody, I've seen some questions about maybe I've done it already in the past, the data product ownership, but it was just not labeled. Do a little bit of reflection. If you work in a software team currently in industry, everybody talks about data one way or another. If you've worked in a data team, I think the data product owner role sometimes is in some places a responsibility and not just a role. So there is not a person, and it's more a shared responsibility among different people. So maybe you've had that already in the past, So do a little bit of retrospective with yourself and think about it. Maybe I already did it. I could add it in my CV. That's also a nice way to at least feel more secure about transitioning into this.
Yes. So thank you very much. I will leave out my wrap up. I liked it a lot, especially the inclusion part is something that is still new to me, thinking about the data product owner. And I think it's very valuable and important to highlight this specific part, especially. So Zamina, Tereza, thank you very much for taking the time and sharing your experiences with us and all the audience. And now I hope you will have a wonderful afternoon and a warm summer August day. So thank you very much and hope to see you soon.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.